Have you ever felt like your makeup is just really hard to put together for your full, true summer color palette? Raise your hands if so. Hi, welcome back. I'm Z. I love makeup and seasonal color. I am definitely not a seasonal color analysis professional by any means, but I spend way too much time researching because it brings me so much joy, even researching the palettes that don't suit me. I can't wear orange. Orange does not work for me, but I love reading about the people it works for. In today's video, I'm going to share with you an amalgamation of some of the different things I've learned researching full true summer. I've created other videos on the topic, but this year I felt like I really got into the nitty-gritties. Without further hesitation, let's get right into creating this cool true summer makeup look. To get started, we are going to start by prepping the skin and doing a little bit of groundwork before we move into perfecting our complexion. I want to start with a lip stain. That way I'll have a little bit of color that lasts me all day long. One I've been trying out recently and I really enjoy is the NYX Lip IV Hydrating Gloss Serum. And this is in the shade number 9 Blush Rush. Now we have a little bit of color on, so things are starting to feel a little bit more harmonious and I'm feeling less stark in this darker hair. When we're prepping our base for makeup, you don't really need to change it too much depending on your seasonal color palette, as it's really more about catering to what you and your skin needs. So what it needs from a sense of care, whether it needs more hydration, it needs a little bit of mattification, and then how you want it to look. So today I want my skin to look smooth and creamy and just blend in beautifully with everything else that we're applying around it. So I've already prepped my skin with sunscreen, and for my sunscreen I use the Hamish Artless Glow Base SPF 50 PA4+. This is a Korean sunscreen with a really beautiful pearl. I want to keep the overall color palette soft and muted, so I want to keep most of my glow under my foundation. What I love about this sunscreen is it gives a little bit of glow to the skin. Think about something like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter or the e.l.f. Halo Glow. The downside with those for the cool true palettes, whether you're cool true summer or cool true winter, they can run too warm and too golden. This is a really beautiful silvery pink, so you can add that illumination and brightness without compromising the overall harmony of the color. Next up, totally optional. This was really more dependent on your skin tone and your overall concern. If you need to color correct, now's where you do it. I always apply a little bit of color corrector under my eyes and around my mouth. Even for people who are extremely cool toned, this would be a place where you might find beneficial to add a little bit of warmth, and don't let it throw you off. Just because we're adding warmth now, the warmth is going to neutralize that unwanted blue purple tone coming through. We're going to use our complexion to cover that, but we want to use these little bits of warmth strategically to cover the things that we don't want. I cover around my mouth because I like to balance out shadows from unwanted hair, and this is something that not only trans people like myself struggle with, but even if you're someone who struggles with like PCOS and you have unwanted facial hair growth or melasma and you get that post-pregnancy darkening of skin around the mouth, this same technique can be very, very helpful. So even if you have extremely icy blue skin, try going a little bit warmer with color corrector. Do it under your foundation because that will help to neutralize the color corrector and make everything feel a little bit more harmonious. Trick with your color corrector is to gently pat it into place. If I try to bring this color corrector from the inner corner to the outer corner where I don't have that blue purple shadowing, now I'm going to have to counteract this with something else because it's not getting that same muting effect that we're getting from down here. When you apply color corrector over something that is opposite, they neutralize each other. I'm going to leave the color corrector here. I'm not going to blend it any further. Your foundation. This is where it gets tricky because seasonal color analysis, choose what matches your skin. If you are neutral, you are neutral. If you have a little bit of warmth, you have a little bit of warmth. What matters is how everything looks in harmony. So for a more harmonious look in an ideal world, you would want a truly cool tone foundation. So today I'm going to be using L'Oreal True Match Foundation in the shade C1. Something I feel like a lot of people people don't talk about when looking at seasonal color analysis is how your overall finish with your different products can really play a part. With the Cool True Summer Color Palette, it is a cooler hue, which means there is more blue in the colors than there are yellow, and it doesn't have a ton of brightness. So since it is a softer color palette, if you go too reflective, it's gonna add too much brightness, which is then going to make things look a lot more clear than what is traditionally harmonious for the color palette. If that's something that you're not fussed about, if you don't mind deviating, do what makes you feel good. But if you want the most harmonious look with your seasonal color palette makeup, and you are someone who falls into the soft muted summer, you want a very soft complexion. So think about a satin finish, a soft matte finish. You could even do, if you're a little bit drier, go for something that has a nicely hydrated appearance. The general thing that you're looking for when choosing a complexion formula or finish is something that's not going to deviate too far from looking like natural skin. The closer you are to that more natural skin-like finish, overall softness. And one thing I really like about the True Cool Summer palette is, since it's not a soft palette, it has elements of softness, but it isn't as soft as something like soft or muted summer, meaning it doesn't have that haziness to it. You can get away with a little bit more glow and still keep the harmony, because that softness will add a soft haziness. So think more velvet versus satin. But again, you do not have to follow all of the rules perfectly for your seasonal color palette. You can mix and match. Do what makes you feel your most beautiful. This is simply a tutorial and a makeup look to show you how to maximize the different products on the market to suit what flatters you and what makes you happy. I used a little bit of a lavender tinted tone-up sunscreen from Skin Aqua. I'll put a picture here. I use it on my neck and my chest because I am in the summer seasonal color palettes, but the palette that best suits me and my features without modifying them is light summer. So that means I'm more of a neutral cool color palette. And when I go too cool, too deep, it can sometimes overwhelm my features. So for me, a color like this, even though it's still in the summer seasonal color palette, it's darker than my natural hair color. In the realm of hairdressing, my hair is somewhere between a level 7 and a level 6. When I get my hair colored, I've tried to go back to my natural color, and when you do an all over level 6, it makes my skin look so flat. And something I've seen throughout the years of doing seasonal color content is a lot of people will comment that my skin looks good in different things from all the different color palettes, but something I've not really shared a ton on camera is how much back work I do into making these color palettes look more harmonious. So if I'm doing a spring or autumn look, then I will go through and use a warmer, more yellow golden foundation to warm up my face, neck, any of that visible skin. Proceed with concealer. I'm using my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Vanilla. When I'm creating a true cool look, I have to adjust my features accordingly, or else using too many cool tone colors, too many more medium value colors can sometimes overwhelm me because there's not enough of that brightness in the palette. If I go all warm tone and I don't modify my skin tone, I don't modify my hair color, it makes me look very sick, very sallow, because it neutralizes the natural pinky redness I have in my skin. So it's really fascinating. Sometimes when we see these different videos about people draping, and it's like, oh, this color brightens your skin, this color brings harmony to your skin, this color doesn't look that great on you. It can be really challenging, but what I like to think about, if you've never had a professional seasonal diagnostic done, or if you're someone who doesn't want to spend the money to have it done, but you want to know what colors work for you, think about your experience trying on clothes, trying on different shades of makeup, because because a lot of times that will really make things a lot more clear. Because if you're someone who doesn't like orange in your wardrobe, you don't like orange in your makeup, the likelihood of you being a warm, true season, so warm, true autumn, warm, true spring, is very unlikely. The same way, if you are not someone who really jibes with those true blue shades, like your sky blues and things like that, you're probably not going to be in a cool, true palette. One of the best things I like to think about is when I was working at a MAC counter. As many people know, if you've ever been at MAC counter and a lot of different cosmetic places, everyone only wears black. Like, you can do a lot with your makeup. And one of the things that I always struggled with and I never understood is, why is it when I wear all black clothing, I needed a lot more makeup to bring harmony back. So even though I did a no makeup, there was a lot of perfecting my skin tone because it made the parts of my face look ruddy, and it was all about tone balancing. And like now, even though I'm going a little bit cooler in tone than I normally would, you can see the overall color harmony coming back in, and now things are looking more harmonious. Now that I've neutralized my more neutral leaning cool tone skin and I've made it cool all over, I've got a little bit of contrast on the lips, I've got a more medium value hair color, and I've got my cool neutral outfit on, we're feeling more harmonious with the overall seasonal color palette. If you look at my hands now, my hands compared to my body skin, they are more on that neutral side, teetering slightly cool. So I'm not a true cool tone. If you're someone who is a cool true tone, you would really notice, especially in your veins, those blue purple veins. I'm gonna go through and add a little bit of concealer. I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, also in the shade Vanilla. And I'm gonna use this just to do the heavy lifting. So for me, I like to really lift and brighten under my eyes. This is also double as my eyelid primer. And if you're someone who does a very simple eye makeup look, this can be such a little hat in itself, because when you neutralize everything, whatever you apply on top has a little bit more vibrance to it. And since this is a matte formula, it's going to add a little bit of flatness. So I even like to take it right here where I have my smile lines. This is not necessary at all. But if you want to perfect, take a tiny bit of a matte concealer that is about a half a shade brighter than your skin tone, and you can use it to just gently diffuse the look of texture and brighten up areas. Anything left over, I'm gonna go over and just neutralize the color corrector. And then I have a sponge I dampened and squeezed the excess water out before I started getting ready. I'm just gonna pat over this now. Now we're ready to embellish our complexion, really play with some of those fun, cool, true summer tones. Now, one of the tricky things with this palette, since it is a soft palette, since it is more on the soft side, sometimes adding definition can be tricky. So we want to find a nice, soft, cool tone pencil. I'm gonna be using the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Glide Eye Pencil in the shade Cinder Smoke. This is a little bit richer than I can typically handle, but since I've gone a little bit dark, got some color on my lip, this is gonna make a beautiful base. So I'm gonna go ahead and roughly line my eyes, and then we'll proceed. Buffing brush, and I'm going to gently smudge out eyeliner. If you were really in a hurry, you could take your concealer brush and then just gently pat over the edge. You have a little bit of lift, add on your mascara, and you can call it, because now you have a nice soft gradient smokiness at the lash line to add some definition. And now I'm gonna go through and set my face so that way we can apply our powder products without things moving around. And you want just a nice soft powder that doesn't alter or warm up the complexion. I'm gonna be using the Chanel Poudre Universal Lead Powder in translucent #1. What I like about this powder is it's a nice soft velvet finish. It's going to help mattify, reduce shine, but it almost makes it look like a nice natural matte finish. It's very softening to the overall complexion. There's a lot of great powders on the market that do a similar job. When we're doing our everyday makeup, you've got a little bit of liner on, you've got a lip stain on, and you've got your complexion finished. How do we add color? One of the first things we do, especially in the summer months, is we want bronzer bronzer. But if you are a cool, true season, or you have a truly cool undertone, you will find most bronzers pull to orange. One of the big things that happens when you are in a cool, true palette, or even a warm, true palette, you are most sensitive to the undertone of your palette. So a lot of bronzers run warmer orangey. If you've purchased a ton of bronzers like I have, and you feel like they all look like an orange stripe on your skin, then this next trick is for you, and it's one of my favorites. Take a powder foundation that matches your skin tone, but a little bit darker. So I go 2 to 3 shades deeper than my skin tone. I'm using the One Size Beauty Turn Up the Base Versatile Powder Foundation in the shade Light 1R Rosy. You can see I've hit pan because I love this. This is similar to my skin tone, but a little bit deeper. What I like to do is then take a muted, plummy blush. Think about something that is like when you've experienced too much sun, you've got a little bit of burn and it's healing. So for that, I'm taking a sheer tone blush from MAC. This is in the shade Breath of Plum. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna mix these together. The way to do this and keep it looking good is take a little bit of your powder foundation, flip to the other side of your brush, just gently dab in, and then go back over. And then I will start working and rolling my brush in the palm of my hand to blend those together. And now I can start adding some warmth to the skin. What you want to do is we are just creating the illusion that we've been kissed by the sun. And it's not going to make you look warm and bronzy, but if you are someone like me and you don't really tan, this is going to give you that suntan look because it has that little bit of that burn. Big trick is even though you're mixing and diluting, you can still get too much blush. So what I like to do is I like to keep this really soft and buffering and diffusing your color with a little bit of powder. It just make it a little bit easier to blend. Another great thing to do is take a large fluffy crease brush. Use that same mixture and run it just up through your socket line. This will help give a little bit of that rosy warmth back to the eyes. And that with the eyeliner alone has already given the eyes so much dimension. When you're shopping for a powder foundation to do this trick with, you want to be careful and you need to check the undertone because even when you get darker within a cool toned or a rosy range, sometimes they can still pull a little orange. So sometimes I will go for a neutral instead of a rosy because that will have a little bit of yellow to neutralize some of the unwanted redness that can turn orange. And when you mix it together then with a blusher, it's going to be a little bit easier to navigate because you're gonna get that rosiness you need back from your blush, but it's just getting the right depth of color for your skin tone with a deeper powder foundation. And I always like to take a little bit just under the outer half of the eye. You can just see now it's really pulling things together. A blush I like a little bit more for this trick than the shade from MAC because this is great, but if you have a skin tone that's like mine or more fair, you need to be really careful with this. Another great shade option is the L'Oreal True Match blush in shade C3-4 Tender Rose. It has a little bit more transparency than this shade, so it's a little bit more forgiving. Now I like to work backwards and highlight. Finding a highlight for your cool skin tone might be tricky because sometimes if you have a very cool tone skin, if it has even a little bit of a hint of neutrality or warmth, you might feel like now you have a gold sparkly stripe on the cheeks. One that I really like, it is a little bit more of a premium option, is the Chanel highlighting powder number 40 White Oval. It looks like a white base, but when you apply it and buff it into the skin, it has a little bit of a pink shift. So versus giving you like a beaming from outer space look, it almost gives the skin that look that you've been in the cold for just a little bit too long and you have that like just back from the Alps flush to the cheek. And something I like to do for my personal application is run a little bit over the front ball of the cheek. You can take a little bit on the nose if you want to, and I like to do a little bit right over the arch of the brow just to add some more dimension. And if you want to keep things cohesive, go back to that large fluffy brush, take a little bit here on the inner corner of your eyes just to brighten things up a little bit more. Now if you have the time, we can play some eyeshadow. I feel like the Western market is getting a lot more cool tone palettes, but sometimes they have a little bit too much opacity and cooler shades can be a little bit harder to blend. So this is where I love playing with K Beauty eyeshadows, and one of my favorites is from the brand Roman, and this is gorgeous. And now if you're in the US, you can get these very easily on the Amazon website. So this is an Roman Better Than Eyes Quad in W01 Dry Lavender. I love this so much. I'm gonna continue with that one large fluffy brush, and I like to keep tissue, wipe it off, and then I'm gonna go into this light pinky violet shade, and I'm gonna use this right over my eyelids. Even though I've already applied things, I'm gonna use this all over my eyes like a beautiful brightening base. This is just gonna add so much life to the eyes. And these light pink purple shades, they are so great for adding an understated brightness to the skin. And it's like someone takes a flashlight and holds it behind something a little bit more translucent, and it just makes it look so fresh and bright. You can take it as far over. I like to work it most on the lid, and then I blend straight up to the eyebrow. It's not a very deep or dramatic shade. It's just something that's gonna give you a little bit of smoothness. Now I'm gonna continue on, and I'm gonna go with a slightly deeper shade, and I'm gonna focus more on the side of my brush. And for this, I'm just gonna start patting where I want a little bit of shape, and this is where it's totally customizable. You can create whatever shape you like. I like something that is like a hybrid between an elongated eye and a rounded eye. So I like to round my socket when I get to the outer corner. I like to lift. So round, lift, and then we go to the other side. It's very, very subtle. So I like to stamp where I want it, and then I just buff. And it's more about creating this like rosy halo around the eyes versus creating a very distinct shape. I want to add a little bit more depth. So if you are someone who's taking your look from day to night, this could be where you take it tonight. I'm going to use a smaller brush now with this darkest shade. And even though it's darker, this formula is a little bit more translucent, so you're not going to get overwhelmed pigment. And I'm just going to buff right over top of the eyeliner we applied, and then blend into this outer corner. It's very much in line with that old outer V technique that a lot of people used to love here on YouTube. I still love it. I love how it just really helps to frame the outer corner of the eye and add a little bit of nice smoky depth. It keeps the eyelids feeling big and bright. Now I'm going to finish off the look with the shimmer shade. You can either use your finger, that's going to give you a much better payoff, or you can use like a little flat packing brush. If you're going to use your finger, I would keep a little bit of Scotch tape on hand because these shadows are very soft and they're prone to hard pan. So use a little bit of Scotch tape. You might need to press down a few times, but if it does get that hard pan or that waxy layer over it, the Scotch tape will help take it off. But if you want a little bit more impact, that will help you out. Gorgeous. Just easy, like very light eyeshadow. And now we are going to finish the eyes off with a little bit of mascara. I am using the Maybelline Firework Washable Mascara in the shade Black Brown. For true cool summer, I feel like you can have some flexibility since it is a cool tone palette. Cool tones are going to seem a little bit darker, so even though you can't go with a full black shade, you can kind of get away with like a soft off black. So a black brown is a nice compromise, especially if you're going a little bit softer on your eye look anyway. Go for it. If you want to stick more true cool summer, then look at the Roman on All Fix mascara in the shade Long Ash. It's definitely more of a subtle mascara, but it's a nice muted taupey gray brown, and it's really gorgeous, just really subtle. And for me, when I want more va-va-voom with my lashes, it can feel a little too subtle. Let's finish with some brows and lips. I'm gonna use a little bit of my e.l.f. Wow Brow in the shade Taupe. So now I'm going to remove the lip stain. Now that the lip stain has been removed, we have this really beautiful flush of color to the lip. This is make a great base for keeping whatever we're gonna have on and giving a little bit more longevity throughout the day. If you're someone who likes more of a lipstick, one of my favorite shades for True Summers is from MAC. This is the shade Syrup. It was discontinued and then brought back in the Luster Glass formula. This is one of my favorite everyday plum pinks. Now you can either leave it as it is. I like to give it just a little bit of a blot, and I'm going to use the NYX Suede Matte Lip Liner in the shade Whipped Caviar. And this is a nice rosy mauve lip pencil. It will just add a little bit of liveliness to this lip shade and make it feel just a little bit more pink versus plum. Something I like to do always is once you have everything else on, you might feel like you need a pop of blush. One of my favorite blushers for this color palette is from Rim Beauty. This is called the Satin Matte Blush in the shade Pinking of You. I'm gonna use that brush I used for the bronzer and tap off a little bit extra and just brighten up the cheeks. Something else I love keeping on hand is grab a large heavy brush. Use Keep One Clean for this purpose, but take your brush, go back to your loose powder, and then at the very end, go over the seams of your eyeshadow. This will further help to give it that softness that aligns with the True Cool palette and also make your blending look just that much better. And a superstar finishing touch. If you are someone who really wants to go the extra step with your color palette and you really want to have that soft harmony that is so home in all the summer seasonal color palettes, something I would suggest trying is buffing. Buffing is a trick where you take a finishing powder and buff it over your makeup at the very end. It will take the overall look down a little bit. It will add a layer of softness, like a soft veil. I like to use a color correcting finishing powder. So this one is from Daisy. There's also a more cool tone variation that has pink, lavender, and a nice frosty blue and a white to brighten up the skin. The one I have here has a pink and almost like a butter yellow that will neutralize some pink and redness. So this will further help to soften things down even more. That just gives it that little extra push. Let's put the finishing touches on this look. I'm gonna finish off my look with a cool, true summer fragrance. And this one, I don't know if it's still in production, but you can find it on like the gray market or discount fragrance websites. Narciso Rodriguez for her Fleur Mist. This is a soft, powdery floral. It has a little bit of a coquette kind of quality because it's very pink, it's very floral, but it's soft. It is a scent that is a soft floral musk that transcends season. If you want a soft floral with a little bit of powderiness, this is a beautiful one that really shines in spring and summer, but it also works all year long. To further finish off the look, when I did my nails for this video, I chose Essie's Nail Lacquer in the shade Go Ginza. That is gonna finish off my cool, true summer look for 2025. I hope you enjoy this. I really love doing seasonal color analysis videos, but from a very selfish place, the summer color palette is my favorite because that's what's home to the season I fall in, light summer, and it just kind of gives me inspiration when I'm doing the research for these videos. What type of looks do I want to work into my look every day? So if you are someone who found anything in this video helpful, informative, or enjoyable, please give it a thumbs up. I will have a link to all the shopping info. Some of the links you will notice are Amazon links, and I've done my best to link them to all the different countries which I have viewers watching through. So even though I'm here in Canada, if you click the link, it should take you to Amazon in your country. Best of luck. If you decide to use any of the links, thank you. They are affiliate links and it puts a little bit of money back into the channel. So thank you so much. If you found this helpful, enjoyable, again, I would really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. And until we see each other again, I hope you're taking care of yourself wherever it is you are in the world. Bye, y'all.